Hi, and welcome to the Dead Chicken Cooking Channel again. I am going to use my pastry that I made the other day and make a couple of rhubarb custard pies. It's a family favorite here, and I started making it when I had my small business that I used to cook for, because I had so much rhubarb I could have fed the whole town rhubarb. So I started doing this pie, and it's a very popular pie. And it's very, very simple to make. So I thought I'd start off with this one. And so I'm just going to go through the method, and you've already got the recipe at the front. As you can see, there's not much to it, but it's very simple and very tasty to make. So we'll start off right now. I'll show you how I measure out the butter, because I usually double the recipe and make 2 pies at once. Okay, this recipe actually calls for 3 tablespoons of butter or margarine, and because I'm doubling it, I am going to put in 6 tablespoons, and I already know that 1/4 cup of margarine is 8 tablespoons. So what I do is I just cut one of these in half, and that gives me, right there is 6 tablespoons of butter. And I just put it in a dish that's microwavable and melt it in the microwave so it's ready to go. That's my first step. I get the butter ready. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate to you how I roll out my pie crust. I've already got one that I've finished here, and that's ready to go, but I'm making 2 pies, so I thought I would just go through this and show you. First of all, I just sprinkle flour. My counter has been thoroughly washed. I wash it off with Dawn soap. There's a little ad for Dawn. And water, and then I dry it with a paper towel before I even start. And this is 1/2 of one of those balls that I was showing in my pastry recipe. And you just go like this with it to get it nice and round, and then you roll it out. I flip it over quite often. And as you go, you have to add a little more flour so it doesn't stick, which I do throughout. And lucky for me, this turned out to be a pretty perfect pastry. Sometimes it's not this easy to work with, but if you get your liquid ingredients perfect within the pastry itself, it's very, very easy to work with your pastry. And then you need to roll it out to be bigger than the pie plate that you're going to put it in, so you have an overhang on the edges, and then you trim it. Then the next thing is to fold it in half like that. And locate your pie plate. I can't find it. I gotta find it here. There we are. And then you make sure that you're about halfway along when you put it in, and you just flip that edge over like that, and try and straighten it all out so that it's evenly spread in there. That looks pretty good. There's a little bit of a crease there, but that's not a big deal. Make sure that you kind of work it into the bottom too. Otherwise it shrinks. And then I just go around, and I leave quite a big, like about a 1/2 inch overhang when I trim it, so that I have lots to fold under and make a deep fluted pie crust here, because that's important, so you don't have it spilling over in the oven as it cooks. And I just keep on trimming all the way around. There, we're done. And usually make tarts out of whatever is left over. Sometimes you get another single crust pie. See, I just put it all together like this and save it to roll out a pie crust for my grandson that will eat just pie crust.
Or sometimes I'll snatch some bits of raw pie crust.
Yes, he likes raw pie crust for some reason.
Because it tastes good, in my opinion.
Now you just fold that under like that. Go all the way around and do that as well. Sometimes it doesn't come out that evenly because the pie crust can be thinner on one side than the other, but it's not really a big deal. It still works out usually. And this pie plate is really easy to do the fluting, but how you flute it is you put your finger like that and pinch it together with the other hand. And you just go all the way around as you do that. I just grab it together like that and go all the way around. This one is good for single crust pies, this pie plate, because you can actually bring the flutes over the edge. See, I've ran into a thin area here, so it makes it hard. I think that's just a piece of fat that didn't get mixed in good enough. It sometimes does that. See, this is better on this side
than the other side.
There, we're all done. And that's how it's supposed to look when you're done. Okay, we're back again. I cleaned off the counter and we have our 2 pie shells ready to go. As I said, I usually double this recipe. It makes it much simpler to just simply double it because I usually make 2 pies at once. They disappear quickly around here. So our next step is making the custard topping that goes on top of the rhubarb. I do not put the rhubarb in yet because I don't want it to sog out the bottom of the crust on the pie. And because it's frozen, it could do that because it will be melting and get all watery. So first off, you have the recipe that says 3 eggs, so of course I'm doubling it and I'm putting in 6 eggs. So we'll start off with the eggs. Piece of shell wouldn't be that good in there, so I better take that out. Two. 3. 4. And 5. I usually put my eggshells in a compost bucket because we use a lot of compost in our garden. Now I beat these up until they're well mixed and a nice lemon yellow color here. That looks pretty good. You want it to be nicely mixed in and starting to get a bit bubbly, as you can see. Then next I add my sugar, which is a lot of sugar, but that's what makes the pie good because of course the rhubarb's on the sour side. So we need 3 cups of sugar. Because that's 1.5 times 2 is 3. So there's going to be 3 cups of sugar in this. 1, 2, 'They don't have to be exact. Sometimes I put a little less in. There we go with the 3 cups of sugar. it calls for up to 4 tablespoons of flour. 1/4 cup is 4 tablespoons. So I just do this twice because my rhubarb is frozen, and I add a little extra flour to make sure it thickens enough. There we go. And then the rest of it here is our melted butter, which we already melted in the microwave. And that was 6 tablespoons. For a single recipe, it's 3. And then I myself like to put almond extract in there, but it's good with vanilla as well. And I'm going to just put a full tablespoon in of that. It gives it a really nice flavor. And then I just mix it all together until it's nice and thick. You don't have to clean the sides of the bowl when you're doing this. It's not that finicky. Now, that's well mixed, and I just leave it like that. Now is the time to put the rhubarb into the pie crust. And it's already started to melt. I'm lucky I have a friend who gave me this rhubarb, and she cut it all up and everything for me. So that makes things pretty simple. And you really don't have to do too much about it. You just cover the bottom of this essentially with your rhubarb, like so. And same with this one. Make sure it's evenly distributed around the pie shell, like that. And then the next step is just to pour the egg mixture over top. Just looking for a spatula, sorry. So I try to get about half on each one. Now I'm not sure, this is the bigger one, so I'll give it a little bit more. Oh, that was not good. Thank goodness it was easy to fix. Now, the rest of it can go on this one. And that's all there is to it. Now I'm going to put them in the oven. I start off all my pies at 450 degrees, and I put a timer on to make sure that I check them at 12 minutes to make sure they're not burning, because that's a very high temperature. And I can tell by looking at them whether they need to go a little bit longer at that temperature. And if they're not overly browned, I leave them go for another 3 minutes. And then after that, I open my oven door to let the heat out, and I turn the oven down to 350 degrees, and I bake them for the remainder of the time. With these rhubarb custard pies, generally I bake a pie for 35 minutes after that. I let these go about 45 minutes because I like them to get really kind of crispy and crusty. They're way better that way. Okay, we'll come back again once we take them out of the oven just to show you how it looks. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. And if you like what you saw, definitely subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much.
Because it'll help out our channel.
Okay, we are now just going to take our 2 pies out of the oven. As you can see, the tops are nicely browned, and when you touch them, they should feel quite solid. It looks like the pie crust kind of fell in a bit on that one, but it doesn't matter. That sometimes happens. I don't worry too much about it. Of course, because I'm filming this, these are the worst ones I've ever done for a long time, but that's okay. Anyways, those are our rhubarb custard pies, completely finished and ready to go. Really good with ice cream on top. And again, thanks for watching us, and I hope you enjoyed this.